Hey everyone, I'm Christina from Proverbs 31 Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how to make onion jam. Yes, jam. I was fairly recently working on an article for Self-Reliance magazine about preserving onions, and I wanted to look into some ways that maybe I had never tried preserving onions before. So I dug out my canning books, and in this lovely book I found a recipe for onion jam, and I thought, that's either going to be really great or really bad. Well, my family decided it was really great. So today I'm going to show you how to make it, and then when I'm done, I'll give you some ideas on how to actually use it. Here we go.
This recipe calls for about 2 pounds of onions. Ball does not say what kind. I chose to use a yellow onion. Not as sweet as, say, a purple onion, but there's a fair amount of sugar in this recipe. So I'm going to try this more savory onion first. You also need some maple syrup. You need balsamic vinegar. You need some apple juice. This is some of my homemade apple juice. The recipe calls for white pepper. I'm just going to use black pepper, a bay leaf, some salt. Canning salt is best, or at least salt that doesn't have anything added to it. And then you want a low or no sugar pectin, as well as some sugar. This is about an 8-quart pot or so. You want it probably to be stainless steel or otherwise non-reactive because you're cooking with vinegar. And I've just thrown in 2 pounds of onions, diced, peeled of course first, and a half a cup of balsamic vinegar, a half a cup of maple syrup, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper, and 1 bay leaf. And I've set this over medium heat, and I'm going to cook this until those onions are cooked down. They're going to be translucent and soft. Pectin is added. We're going to stir that in. And now we're going to stir continually. We need to bring this to a full rolling boil that cannot be boiled down. Alright, sorry this is so hard to film because it's so steamy, but I just added a half a cup of sugar. It slowed down the boil temporarily, but we just keep stirring and boiling until we get to a full rolling boil, and then we're going to time for 1 minute before we take this off the heat. So now I'm just fishing the bay leaf out of here. Nobody wants a bay leaf in their jam. There it is. Toss that aside. Now we're just going to fill jam jars. We want 1/4 inch headspace, which, if you've never done this before, headspace is the amount of space from the tippy top of the jar, the rim, to the top of the food. When I first started canning, I tended to err on the side of underfilling the jars, and I know a lot of people do. That is better than overfilling, probably, simply because, I'm just wiping that rim down to get it nice and clean, simply because if you overfill, then your lids may not seal because food may end up on the rim of that jar. But when you underfill, you're letting more air stay in the jar, and the food can turn color or perhaps go bad over time, especially if it's quite a difference in headspace. But you don't need to get out a ruler. If you don't know this trick, you can look at these little lines here on the jar for the screwing in the screw band, and well, these are not a very good example because they're just jelly jars, but this top one, not the very tippy top, but this one right here is approximately 1/4 inch from the rim of the jar. Now I'm just putting on the lid, putting on the screw band nice and tight, and I'm going to stick it in my prepared water bath canner. And I'm just going to keep filling jars. Ball says this recipe makes about 5 jelly jars. In this particular canning book, it seems like a lot of their recipes are for smaller batches. But also, this is kind of a specialty item. It's really not even the sort of thing I would typically can. But it is a fun experiment. Don't forget to debubble the jar. You're just getting air pockets out, especially along the sides. I didn't show you me doing that in the last one, but I did. Now I have jelly jars already in my water bath canner that have been washed, and they've been sitting in the canner over heat, kind of at a simmer, just staying nice and warm, because you want, whenever you put hot food in jars, you want to have warm jars or hot jars. Put the lid on. Then when you just start to meet resistance, tighten it once a little bit. And then these go back into the canner. I know there are a lot of canners who take all their jars out of the canner and then line them up on the counter and, oh, you can't grab a jar. Line them up on the counter and then fill them all and then debubble them all and wipe them all and seal them all. But it's probably better not to do that, because you don't want your jars cooling down. That can cause breakage. You just want to keep them nice and hot. Keep the food hot. That also ensures that the food quickly reaches the needed temperature to kill off harmful microorganisms. Can't speak today. Harmful microorganisms. By the way, I am just kind of finishing up the Bernardin lids that I bought during the shutdowns when it was so hard to get lids. I bought some in bulk. But I now understand that their lids, which are of course made by Ball, and the Kerr lids, all the things that used to be the standard things that most canners used, quality seems to have really gone downhill. They're a lot thinner, not buckling, and people are just having troubles with the seals. And gosh, it's so frustrating to have troubles with your lids when you put all the time and effort and sometimes money into canning. So I would love to hear from you guys what lids you're using right now that you really love. I will say I also have Harvest Right lids and Tadler lids, which are reusable brands, reusable lids, multi-use lids. But I am curious what people are liking as far as one-time use lids, because sometimes, you know, you want to give jars away for holiday gifts. This would be a great recipe to do that with, and you don't want to have to ask people to bring back your lids. It's hard enough to have them bring back the jars. Okay, so if you end up like this, where you have a jar that isn't full all the way, it doesn't, you know, if it was close to the recommended headspace, I'd probably go ahead and can it and just use that jar first. But this is like only halfway full, so I'm not even going to bother to can this. I'm just going to put a lid on it and stick it in the fridge, and this will be a great tester for us. The canner is at a full boil with the jars inside, and we're going to let it keep going that way for 15 minutes. Then we can turn off the heat and remove the lid. All right, after I processed, I removed the lid, and then I let the jars sit in there for 5 minutes to cool down just a bit. And now it's time to remove them. Oops, if I can grab them and run the camera at the same time. There we go. Don't tip them in any way, just let them drip a little bit. Okay, I'm going to finish getting all these out. Oh, pop, pop, pop. That's great. And once these have cooled down, in a day or two, I will have my husband, who I think will like this, try it.
Now I want to give you an idea of how to use this jam. As you can see, my family has already eaten quite a bit of it, but a very simple way to use this is to use toast or an English muffin, something along those lines. It's fantastic if you put cream cheese on it first. Don't happen to have that right now. And then jam. Another way to use this is on hamburgers. Instead of putting caramelized onions on your burgers, you're going to use this. Those are the two main ways that we have found that we really love this. You could put this on crackers for a wonderful appetizer, for example. And that is what it looks like. And the taste is fantastic. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Give it a try.